What's up, man? I'm back. It's been a very, very long time. I believe the last time that I made a video was Game 6 of the Milwaukee Bucks. Man, it's been a long time. It's almost a year removed since my last video. It's been a lot of going on for me, but I'm back. And I have a few things. Well, not a few things. I really just want to focus on one thing for my first video back. I want to keep it simple. I want to keep it fluid and just easy going, kind of, and just focus like on one topic. I try to do like multiple topics, of course, as the playoffs keep going on in round 2. But for this video in particular, I just really want to talk about something that was bothering me, and that was the discourse around the Most Improved Player Award, which is the player that won it, which is Ja Morant. I feel like with MVP, so many people have different opinions for MVP, and historically MVP has always went to the best player on the best team. Historically, it's always been either the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed that's won it. This year it's looking like Nikola Jokic is going to win it, and his team was the 6th seed, and they've already been bounced in the first round by the Golden State Warriors. And a lot of people took issue with that. You know, a lot of people thought that maybe Joel Embiid should have won it, or Giannis Antetokounmpo, some even said Devin Booker. Ja Morant would have been my MVP if had he not missed so many games, but because he missed so many games, that's why. But it's always funny hearing people talk about MVPs, because some people think best player, best team, or how can you win when you got this All-NBA player, that All-NBA player, that All-NBA player on your team, but you make them a championship contender. But with Most Improved, people say, well, if you're the quote unquote, if you were a sorry player last year and you made a vast jump, you know, then by that measure, you are the most improved. But I always find that very kind of like contradictory for me, because I feel like, for one, most improved player, a lot of people said Desmond Bane. A lot of people said Jordan Poole. I feel like those guys were worthy candidates. When we're talking about Ja Morant, people say, well, he was the number 2 pick. He was supposed to be here. I think LeBron even went as far as saying the people that vote are quote unquote dweebs. But I don't think that that's the right way to necessarily look at it. To go from, if Ja Morant was a top 25 to top 30 player last year, to go from a top 25 to top 30 player in the NBA to an MVP candidate, which means you're one of the top 3 to 5 best players in the NBA, that is more improvement to me than going from the 222nd best player to the 125th best player. Because think about the names that you're jumping to get from number 30 to number 5 or to number 3 or wherever you want to rank Ja. Or think about, or even number 10, even in the top 10. And think about the names that you're jumping to get from 220 to 125. Like, you're not jumping the same names. You're not jumping the same level of competition. So when you talk about Ja Morant, you say, well, his numbers didn't jump up as much as a Desmond Bane's or as much as a Jordan Poole's, but his status as a player rose. He also made improvement with his numbers. They may not have been as great as Desmond Bane's. It may not have been that big of a jump as Jordan Poole's, but but it rose. Like, he, as a player, his status, he went from a number 2 overall pick who had his team in the play-in, who took a game off the number 1 seed, the Utah Jazz last year, and then lost 4 straight once Donovan Mitchell came back, to now his team is, and I know it's not all him, but his team is the 2nd seed in the Western Conference, and they're a title contender, and the series tied 1-1 with the Golden State Warriors, who many think could come out the West themselves. And he's the engine on that team. He's averaging, I believe, 40.5 points in round 2. That is more improved than what Desmond Bane is doing right now, or what Jordan Poole is doing right now as a 3rd option or 2nd option, or wherever you want to rank him amongst that Golden State hierarchy in that offense. To me, what Ja is doing is more improvement than those other guys. And I think that that's how we should look at this award. It's very strange how people will say, oh, MVP is X, Y, and Z. Like MVP, you got to be the 1 seed. You got to be the 2 seed. You got to be X amount of games over 500s. Or, you know, and some people say, well, MVP is about carrying a bad roster, like what Nikola Jokic did, or what Russell Westbrook did in 2017. Some people feel like that, you know what I'm saying? Or what Kobe was doing back in the mid-2000s when Nash was winning. Some people feel like Nash had Amari, and Nash had Sean Marion and Quentin Richardson and all these other guys, you know. But at the end of the day, I think that the voters were showing that they valued a player making a team a championship contender versus a player making a team a playoff team. Although some people believe that value is indeed floor raising rather than ceiling raising. And I think that Ja Morant not only raises the ceiling for himself, but he rose the ceiling for his basketball team. They, for the first time in a long time, Memphis is in the second round of the playoffs. And I think that besides other years, I think that this team has a legitimate shot to win the West. I have them beating Golden State, and a large part of that is because of Ja Morant and just the success that he's had versus Golden State going back to his sophomore season, you know what I'm saying, which was last year. So, like, I just think that we have to change how we look at most improved player. I don't necessarily think, because, like, even I think 2 or 3 years ago when Brandon Ingram won it, right? Like, I think he won it over Devontae Graham. Even back then, I was of the mentality where Devontae Graham was averaging, I believe, like 3 points the year prior. Now he's averaging like 16 or 17 points. It was something crazy. It was like a 16 to 17 points per game rise. But I'm not looking at it as, well, Brandon Ingram went from a player that was starting to see as like he's not living up to his draft pick potential to an all-star, not an all-star candidate, an all-star player. So when you jump from that to an all-star, that is more improvement than what Devontae Graham did, because when you get more minutes, when you get more usage, your numbers should rise. Like, that should be common sense. When you get more opportunities, you should make the most out of those opportunities. So I think that we got to kind of change the perspective on how we look at this award and how we value most improved going forward. I think this is a good time, instead of people trying to hold on and attack and be agenda driven. I think this is a good time for us to like learn and see, okay, well, is this the right way to go about it next season? Because frankly, I don't care that Ja Morant was a number 2 overall pick. Frankly, I don't care that you're supposed to be doing this. To go from, you have to put the work in, first of all. And to go from a top 30, wherever player you had Ja Morant is not where he's at this season. And the names that you're jumping Paul George, you're jumping Kawhi Leonard, you're jumping James Harden, you're jumping Damian Lillard, guys that are multiple All-NBA, multiple All-Stars, some MVPs, some MVP candidates, you know, guys that have 10, 11, 12 years in this league of work that they put in. You're jumping those names to get into that top 10. That is more impressive than Desmond Bain jumping Jayshawn Tate and I don't know, whoever else is in that category. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Jayshawn Tate. That's just the first name that came up in my head because, of course, I'm a Rockets fan. But, like, it's just more impressive than jumping those names. Like, jumping the All-NBA names is more impressive. So, to me, I think that the voters got it right. I think that we got to change the discourse on how we look at this award and the perspective and the point of view on how we view this award. That's all I got to say. I'm very happy to be back. I should be making a video probably tonight or tomorrow morning about Game 3 Philly Heat and Game 3 Dallas Phoenix. I'm out.